The night was cold. The air was heavy with dust and smoke. Old buildings stood like broken teeth against the dark sky. The human scavenger moved carefully through the ruins, his boots crunching on broken glass and stone. He had been walking for hours, searching for food, searching for anything he could use. His bag was almost empty and his stomach was already growling. The world was not the same anymore. Long ago, before the wars, the cities had been bright with lights. Now there was only silence, darkness, and danger. He knew every corner could hide an enemy. He knew every shadow could be death. But hunger forced him to keep moving. The scavenger stopped near a collapsed market. Rusted signs still hung, swinging weakly in the cold wind. He pushed aside some broken boards, hoping to find cans or boxes left behind. He found nothing but dust and rats. He sighed, ready to move on. That was when he felt it, a pair of eyes watching him. He turned sharply, hand gripping the metal pipe he used as a weapon. At first he saw nothing. The shadows were deep and the moonlight barely touched the ruins. Then he noticed movement, small, careful, almost invisible. From behind a broken wall, a figure appeared. It was small, thin, and shaking. At first he thought it was a child, maybe a lost human. But then the figure stepped into the pale light, and he realized the truth. She was not human. The creature looked like a girl, but her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the moon. Her eyes were wide and dark, too large for her face, and her hair was like threads of white fire. She wore torn clothes, dirty and wet, as if she had been running for days, and in her arms she clutched a teddy bear. The scavenger froze. His heart pounded. He had seen aliens before, but never this close, never so fragile. Most of his kind called them enemies, dangerous invaders. But this one, this child, looked weak, starving and desperate. The alien girl looked at him with pleading eyes. She took one step closer than another, holding the teddy bear tighter to her chest. Her voice trembled when she spoke. "Human, please," she whispered. "Trade your food. For my teddy bear." The scavenger frowned. He did not answer right away. He only stared at her, trying to understand. Her voice was soft, almost broken, but her words were clear. She spoke his language, though each word seemed heavy, as if it hurt her to speak. She lifted the teddy bear a little higher, as if showing him her most precious treasure. "My brother, he has not eaten in days. He will die soon. Please take this. Give me food." The scavenger blinked, confused. Why would she trade something like that? A toy for food? The teddy bear looked old, its fur torn and dirty, but there was something strange about it. Even from a distance, he thought he saw a faint glow, as if the toy was alive. He stepped closer, keeping his pipe ready in case it was a trap. "Why the bear?" he asked slowly. The girl shook her head, tears shining in her dark eyes. "It is all I have left. My parents, they are gone. My brother is all I have. If you do not help me, he will die tonight." Her words cut through the silence like a knife. The scavenger felt a heavy weight in his chest. He had lived long enough to see death everywhere. He had lost friends, family, and strangers. But this child, this alien, was begging him not for herself but for her brother. He glanced at his bag. Inside there were only 2 cans of beans and a half-empty bottle of water. Enough to keep him alive for a few more days. If he gave even 1 can, he would risk starving. But if he refused, she and her brother might not survive the night. The scavenger looked back at her. The way she held that teddy bear. It was not just a toy. It was something sacred, something tied to her family, maybe her entire past, and she was willing to give it up. That meant she was desperate beyond words. He tightened his grip on his bag. His thoughts raced. Could this be a trap? Could others be watching him, waiting for him to lower his guard? Or was this girl truly alone, standing in the ruins, offering her last treasure for food? The cold wind howled through the broken market, shaking loose stones and rattling the old metal signs. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his decision. The scavenger's eyes met hers. Her lips trembled. Her arms shook. She hugged the bear tighter, as if afraid he would simply take it by force. Finally, he moved. Slowly, carefully, he pulled 1 can from his bag and placed it on the ground between them. His eyes never left hers. The girl gasped softly, eyes wide with relief. She bent down and gently placed the teddy bear on the ground. Then she picked up the can, hugging it close to her chest. Her tears fell silently, mixing with the dirt on her face. The scavenger bent down and picked up the bear. For a moment, his skin tingled. The toy felt warmer than it should, almost alive. He stared at it, puzzled, but said nothing. When he looked up, the girl was already stepping back into the shadows. She clutched the can of food, whispering something he could not hear, and then, just like that, she was gone. The scavenger stood alone in the ruins, the teddy bear in his hand glowing faintly under the moonlight. A strange unease filled him. He did not know why, but something told him this was not the end. This was only the beginning. The ruins were silent again, but the scavenger could not calm his heart. The strange glow of the teddy bear lit his hand faintly, like a candle hidden inside the worn fabric. He turned it over again and again, searching for wires, batteries, or some trick. But there was nothing, just torn stitching, old fur, and eyes that seemed too alive for a toy. He muttered to himself, "What have I done?" He had given away food, the one thing he could not afford to lose. He had traded survival for a toy. Yet, deep down, he knew it was not just a toy. Something about it felt wrong, or perhaps too right, as if it belonged in another world. The scavenger tucked the bear inside his bag and kept walking. But every few steps he glanced around. The girl had vanished too quickly. One moment she had been there, begging, trembling in the moonlight. The next she was gone like smoke. No footsteps, no sound. Only the echo of her voice remained in his mind. "My brother has not eaten in days." Hours later, he reached the small shelter where he usually hid, an old subway entrance, half buried under rubble. He crawled inside, set his bag down, and lit a small fire with scraps of paper. As the flames flickered, he pulled the teddy bear out again. The firelight made the toy glow even stronger. Its eyes caught the light and reflected it like real ones. He felt uneasy, as if the bear was watching him. He almost tossed it aside, but something in him stopped. He remembered the girl's tears, her trembling hands, and the way she had pressed the bear close to her chest before letting it go. He whispered, "Why would she give you up?" As if answering, the bear grew warmer in his hands. Startled, he dropped it on the ground. For a moment, the fire bent toward it, as though the toy was pulling the flame. The scavenger's breath caught. He leaned closer, staring. The stitching on the bear's chest glowed faintly, forming patterns he had never seen before. Symbols, not human ones. The scavenger shook his head, gripping his hair. No, this is madness. He was tired, hungry, and half-broken from weeks of wandering. Perhaps he was imagining things. Yet the glow was real. He could see it even when he closed his eyes. That night he tried to sleep. But as soon as he drifted off, dreams consumed him. He saw a city that was not human, towers of silver, bridges of light, skies filled with strange ships. Children laughed in the streets, their voices echoing like music. Then fire fell from the sky. Explosions ripped the towers apart. Screams filled the air. He saw the alien girl again, holding the teddy bear and crying out for her parents. He saw her brother, weak, hiding under rubble. The scavenger woke with a shout, sweat dripping down his face. The teddy bear lay beside him, glowing brighter than before. He touched it with shaking hands, and it pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. He whispered, "This thing, it holds their memories." He could feel it now. The warmth was not random. It was alive, not in the way of flesh and blood, but in the way of spirit, as if the toy carried a piece of the alien family within it. The girl had not simply given him a toy. She had given him her past, her pain, her last hope. The scavenger pressed his hands over his face. He wanted to throw it away, to forget this encounter, to go back to surviving day by day. But something inside him had already changed. He could not ignore the girl's words. He could not erase the vision of her starving brother. For the first time in years, he felt something dangerous, responsibility. The next day, he packed his things and started walking again. The teddy bear stayed in his bag, glowing faintly through the fabric. Every step he felt it guiding him, pulling him toward something unseen. He tried to resist, but the tug was too strong. He followed without knowing why. As the sun set, he reached the edge of the city. Broken roads stretched out into wild land where nature was taking back what war had stolen. He stopped near an old bridge, ready to rest, and then he saw her. The alien girl stood across the bridge, clutching the can of food he had given her. Her eyes locked on his, wide with surprise. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then slowly she stepped forward. "You still have it," she whispered, pointing at his bag. The scavenger frowned. "You mean the bear?" She nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes, my family's soul is inside it." His chest tightened. Why give it to me then? Her lips quivered and tears formed in her glowing eyes. Because I had no choice. My brother would die without food. But if you keep the bear, you are not safe. Others will come. They will hunt you. They will kill you for it. The scavenger's grip tightened on the strap of his bag. He glanced down at the glowing teddy bear. His survival instinct screamed at him to walk away, to throw the toy into the river, to pretend this never happened. But the girl's eyes burned with desperation and truth. In that moment, he understood. He had not made a trade. He had made a bargain that would change everything. The scavenger did not sleep the next night. He sat near the weak fire in his shelter, staring at the teddy bear. Its glow pulsed slowly like a quiet heart. Every time the light brightened, his chest felt heavy, as if someone else's memories were pressing against his own. He told himself to throw it away. He even stood, walked to the broken subway stairs and lifted his arm to cast it into the dark, but his fingers froze. The bear's black button eyes seemed to plead with him, the same way the alien girl's eyes had pleaded. He lowered his hand, defeated, and returned to the fire. When he finally closed his eyes, the dreams came again. This time he saw more. The alien city was alive, filled with energy, not the ruins of his human world. There were tall towers made of glass-like stone, glowing with rivers of light. Bridges stretched across the sky, carrying strange creatures in smooth flying machines. The air itself hummed with color. And then the fire returned. Explosions ripped through the towers. The sky burned red. He heard voices, shouts of command in a language he did not understand. Ships rained destruction from above. The streets filled with running families. He saw the girl again, dragging her brother by the hand, her teddy bear glowing in the smoke. The vision shifted. The girl's family huddled inside a small room underground. Her mother whispered to her in a trembling voice. Her father pressed the teddy bear into her arms. Their faces glowed in the dim light as if their energy was flowing into the toy. The bear pulsed brighter and brighter. The girl cried, refusing to let go as her parents collapsed into silence. The scavenger woke with a sharp gasp. His hands were shaking. Sweat ran down his face, and the teddy bear lay against his chest, warm, alive, pulsing like it had been part of the dream. He whispered to the fire, "This thing, it holds them. Her parents, their souls." The idea made no sense, yet deep inside he knew it was true. The toy was not just a toy, it was a vessel, a memory keeper, a soulbinder. Whatever technology the aliens had used, it was beyond anything humans had. And now it rested in his hands. For hours he sat in silence, staring at the glowing stitches on the bear's chest. Strange symbols shimmered there like words written in a forgotten language. He traced them with his finger, and for a heartbeat he felt voices whisper in his mind. He pulled his hand back in fear, his heart racing. He whispered, "Why me? Why give this to me?" But the bear gave no answer. Only the steady glow remained. The next day, he left his shelter. Hunger pulled him onward, but so did something else, something he could not explain. The teddy bear was guiding him, like a compass that pointed not to north but to destiny. Every time he tried to turn away, the weight in his chest grew heavier until he followed the path it seemed to demand. The ruins gave way to broken tunnels beneath the city. The air was damp and cold, carrying faint echoes of dripping water. He lit a small torch and followed the bear's pull deeper inside. Hours passed. His legs grew weak, his breath heavy. He was ready to turn back when he heard it, a soft cough. He froze. Slowly, he lowered the torch and stepped forward. The sound grew louder. Another cough, a weak, rasping breath, and then he saw them. In a hollow space, hidden behind collapsed stones, lay a group of aliens. Children, old ones, and a few wounded adults. Their eyes glowed faintly, their skin pale and thin. They were starving. Some leaned against the walls, too weak to move. Others curled up, silent. And in the middle of them all lay the alien girl. She held the can of food he had given her, but she had not eaten it all. Instead, she was feeding her younger brother. Small, thin, his breath shallow. Her eyes widened when she saw the scavenger step into the light. She gasped, clutching her brother closer. The others stirred, their wide eyes filled with fear. "You followed me," the girl whispered. The scavenger's voice was rough. "The bear led me." Her eyes dropped to the glowing toy in his hands. Tears filled her eyes. She looked away, ashamed. I should never have given it to you. My parents, their lives are inside it. Without it, my brother will fade." The scavenger stared at her brother. The boy's skin was so thin it seemed almost transparent. Every breath sounded like a battle he was losing. Yet as the scavenger stepped closer, the teddy bear's glow grew brighter, as if reacting to the boy. The girl noticed too. She reached out a trembling hand. "Please, let me hold it once more." The scavenger hesitated. Every survival instinct screamed at him to keep it. It was too powerful, too strange, but he saw her tears, her broken voice, her brother's weak breath. Slowly, he placed the bear in her arms. At once, the glow spread across the boy's chest. His breath steadied. His skin gained faint color. The girl gasped and hugged the bear tighter. Her brother opened his eyes weakly and whispered her name. The scavenger's throat tightened. He turned away, but inside he felt something burning, a mix of guilt, relief, and awe. The girl looked at him, eyes shining through her tears. "Human, you saved him. The bear listens to you. It chose you." The scavenger shook his head. "I didn't save anyone. I just carried it." But the girl only whispered, "No, you are part of it now. My family's soul is tied to yours." The scavenger stood in silence, torchlight flickering over the starving faces of the refugees. He realized this was no simple trade. He had stepped into a truth far greater than himself, and now he could never walk away. The tunnels smelled of damp stone and sickness. The scavenger stood among the group of refugees, their hollow eyes watching him with a mix of fear and hope. He had lived his whole life fighting to survive, yet never had so many desperate faces turned toward him at once. The teddy bear glowed faintly in the alien girl's arms. Her brother breathed more calmly now, though his body still shook with weakness. The scavenger could not look away. He had seen many starving humans in the ruins of his own kind, but this was different. These were the so-called enemies, and yet in their eyes he saw the same pain, the same hunger, the same will to live. The girl's voice broke the silence. "There are more of us, hiding, waiting. They are too weak to move." She looked at the bear, then at him. "It pulled you here. It knows we need you." The scavenger frowned. "I don't belong to you. I don't belong to this toy." But even as he spoke, the bear pulsed gently in her arms, and he felt the echo inside his chest. The connection was real, whether he accepted it or not. He sighed and sat against the wall, running a hand over his tired face. "If there are more of you, they won't last long down here. Food is scarce. Water is worse. And soldiers patrol the surface. If they find this place, you'll all be finished." The girl lowered her head. "I know, that is why I asked you. You can move where we cannot. You can search. You can bring hope." The scavenger stared into the darkness of the tunnels. For years he had lived only for himself, carrying scraps of food, hiding from patrols, stealing when he had to. He had promised himself never to carry the weight of others again. Yet here he was, surrounded by strangers, aliens, and already their survival was pressing down on him. He cursed under his breath and stood. "I'll search, but if I'm caught, if I die out there, no one comes for me. Understand?" The girl nodded, her eyes shining with quiet gratitude. The scavenger picked up his torch and left the hollow chamber. The tunnels stretched like veins beneath the city, endless and twisting. He walked carefully, marking his path with scratches on the stone. Every step echoed, bouncing off the walls like whispers. Hours passed. He searched abandoned storerooms, collapsed train stations, and broken pipes. In one corner he found a few rusted cans still sealed. In another, a barrel half filled with stale water. He packed what he could, though his bag grew heavy and his body weak. But the teddy bear guided him. Even from far away he felt the faint pull, as if its heartbeat was leading him to hidden places. Once, when he turned down the wrong tunnel, the bear's glow dimmed inside his memory and his chest tightened. When he turned back, the weight lifted. It was as if the toy itself wanted him to succeed. Still, danger was never far. As he reached a broken service ladder, he heard footsteps above. Human voices, sharp and cruel, carried through the cracks. "Soldiers!" He froze, pressing himself into the shadows. Their words drifted down. Reports of movement below. Could be rats. Could be worse. Aliens, maybe. "Orders are to flush them out." His heart pounded. If they searched the tunnels, they would find the refugees. He had to move quickly. When the footsteps faded, he climbed the ladder silently, peeking into the ruined street above. The night was cold, the wind biting against his face. The city stretched out in broken silence, its towers half fallen, its streets scattered with bones of both human and alien alike. He slipped through the shadows, avoiding patrol lights. In the shell of an old grocery store, he found shelves mostly bare. But behind a fallen freezer, he uncovered boxes of dried food sealed in plastic. His eyes widened, enough to feed the refugees for weeks. His hands shook as he loaded his bag, though every sound made him fear discovery. Twice he froze when light swept past broken windows. Once a soldier's boots crunched within meters of him. But the darkness hid him well, and soon he carried his treasure back into the tunnels. By the time he returned, his legs trembled with exhaustion. The refugees gasped when they saw the food. Children crawled forward, their eyes wide with hunger. The scavenger set down the bag, and the alien girl quickly divided what she could, giving small pieces to each starving mouth. The boy ate slowly, carefully, as his sister watched. His color returned little by little. The others whispered in relief, tears mixing with their dirt-covered faces. The scavenger leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. He had risked everything for them, and still danger lingered above. He knew this was only a small victory. Food could not hide them forever. Soldiers would come. Death would come. The girl approached him quietly, holding the glowing bear. She bowed her head. "You could have left us, but you didn't." He looked at her, his voice low. "Don't thank me. I only bought you time." She touched the teddy bear gently. "Time is everything. Time means life." The scavenger closed his eyes, listening to the whispers of the tunnels. For the first time in years, he was no longer wandering alone, and that terrified him more than the soldiers above. The bear pulsed in the girl's hands, its light stronger than before. The scavenger felt it deep in his chest. This was no ordinary search. It was only the beginning of something far greater. The tunnels grew restless. Days passed since the scavenger had brought food, but the fear of discovery never left. The refugees whispered in the dark, their voices heavy with worry. Every sound above, the stomp of boots, the crack of gunfire, the rumble of machines, sent shivers through their bones. The scavenger tried to ignore it. He kept moving through the tunnels, searching, carrying food and water when he could, but he felt the weight growing heavier. He was no longer alone. The lives of the weak and the starving were tied to his every step, and always the teddy bear pulsed faintly in the girl's arms, glowing more each day. It was no longer a faint flicker. It was brighter now, a steady light like a torch burning in the dark. The refugees gathered around it, whispering prayers in their own language. The scavenger didn't pray. He only watched. Deep down, he knew the glow was dangerous. Too bright. Too easy to follow. And his fear came true. One night, as he returned from the surface with a bag of canned food, he heard it. The sharp barking voices of soldiers echoing through the tunnels. The sound of boots striking stone. His blood ran cold. He dropped to his knees, pressing his ear to the ground. The vibrations were strong, moving closer. They were not wandering. They were hunting. By the time he reached the chamber of the refugees, panic had already begun. The girl clutched her brother and the teddy bear, her eyes wide with terror. The old ones huddled together. Children whimpered, covering their mouths to stay silent. "They've found us," the scavenger muttered. The girl looked at him desperately. "You promised—" "I promised nothing," he snapped, though his chest tightened with guilt. "I only gave you time. But now," he clenched his fists, "time is gone." The soldiers' voices grew louder. Flashlights cut through the tunnels. The metallic click of rifles echoed like thunder. The scavenger pulled the pipe from his bag, his only weapon. Useless against rifles, but better than empty hands. He looked at the refugees, weak, starving, unable to run far. He could escape alone. He could slip away into the shadows and live, but his eyes fell on the girl's brother. The boy lay pale and trembling, his chest rising and falling with difficulty. Without the teddy bear's light, he would already be dead. And something inside the scavenger broke. He whispered almost to himself, "Damn it, I can't leave you." The girl stared at him, eyes wide with shock. The soldiers appeared in the tunnel entrance, their flashlights blinding in the dark. "There!" one shouted. "Contact!" Chaos erupted. Children screamed. The old ones cried out. The scavenger pushed himself forward, standing between the soldiers and the refugees. "Stay back," he roared, gripping the pipe like a blade. The soldiers laughed, their rifles raised. A human? With them? One sneered. Traitor. The scavenger's voice was rough. They're starving children, not soldiers. Leave them. The leader stepped forward, rifle aimed at his chest. Orders are clear. Aliens die, and anyone protecting them dies too. The scavenger's hand shook, but he held his ground. He felt the teddy bear's light at his back, pulsing against the stone walls. For a moment, the glow reflected in the soldiers' eyes, and they hesitated. Then one fired. The shot rang out, the bullet striking the stone near his head. Dust rained down. The scavenger charged, swinging the pipe. He struck the soldier's arm, knocking the rifle aside. Another soldier kicked him hard, sending him to the ground. Pain shot through his ribs, but he forced himself up, swinging again. The refugee screamed as shots cracked in the chamber. The girl clutched her brother and the teddy bear, crying out in her language. The toy glowed brighter, so bright it lit the entire tunnel. The soldiers faltered, shielding their eyes. "What is that?" one shouted. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, faster and faster until the chamber seemed alive. The scavenger felt it surge through him, filling his chest with heat, with strength. He roared and swung again, his pipe smashing into another soldier's helmet. The man collapsed, but there were too many. The leader raised his rifle again, aiming directly at the girl. The scavenger's eyes widened. He threw himself forward, arms outstretched, shielding her with his own body. The shot exploded through the tunnel. Pain tore through his side. He fell to his knees, blood soaking his shirt. The girl screamed. The boy coughed weakly, clutching at the glowing bear. And then the bear changed. The glow burst outward, filling the tunnel with blinding white light. Strange symbols burned in the air, swirling like fire. The soldiers stumbled, screaming, their rifles clattering to the ground. The light wrapped around the scavenger, searing his skin, but it did not burn. It healed. He gasped, his wound sealing as the warmth spread through his veins. The teddy bear's eyes blazed, alive with a power he could not understand. The soldiers fled, shouting in panic, their voices fading into the tunnels. Silence returned, broken only by the sound of the scavenger's ragged breaths. He looked down at the glowing bear, still pulsing with strange energy. The girl's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "It has chosen you. You carry them now. My family, my people. You cannot run anymore." The scavenger's chest heaved. He wanted to deny it, to throw the bear away, to escape the weight pressing down on him. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He had crossed the line, and nothing in his life would ever be the same. The tunnels were quiet again, but the silence was not peace. It was the heavy, waiting silence before a storm. The scavenger sat with his back against the cold stone wall, blood drying on his torn shirt. His body shook from exhaustion, though the wound from the soldier's bullet had already closed. The teddy bear had healed him, but the healing came with a price. Every time he touched the glowing toy now, voices echoed in his mind. Whispers of pain, shouts of warning, gentle words in a language he did not understand. The souls bound to the bear were not silent anymore. They pressed against his thoughts, their memories spilling into his dreams, their grief becoming his own. The alien girl sat across from him, holding her brother close. The boy's chest rose and fell steadily now, each breath a little stronger than the last. She looked at the scavenger with eyes full of both gratitude and fear. "You felt it, didn't you?" she whispered. He nodded slowly. "It's alive. Your family. All of them." Inside, she lowered her head, her voice trembling. "My parents gave their energy to protect us. They poured it into this vessel. But it was not only them, others too. Families, elders, soldiers, everyone who fell in the fire. They placed their essence inside the bear before they died." The scavenger's throat tightened. "You're telling me this thing carries hundreds?" The girl nodded. "It is the last of us, our history, our strength. If it is destroyed, we vanish." He stared at the glowing toy lying between them. What had begun as a trade had become something far greater. It was no toy. It was a lifeboat for an entire people, crammed into a child's plaything. The refugees around them slept in uneasy silence, too weak to speak, too tired to cry. Only the glow of the teddy bear gave light to the chamber. The scavenger closed his eyes. He could still hear the soldiers' voices in his head. They would not stop. They had seen the light. They would come again in greater numbers, and next time he would not be enough. He whispered, "We can't stay here. They'll burn the tunnels. The girl clutched her brother tighter. Where can we go? We are too weak. My brother cannot walk far. The scavenger's jaw tightened. He looked at the bear again. Its glow pulsed like it understood the question. And for the first time he realized what it wanted. It was not simply protecting. It was calling. The scavenger rose to his feet, swaying slightly. There's only one way out of this. We can't hide anymore. We have to move. The bear will guide us, the girl's eyes widened. Guide us where? He shook his head. I don't know. But I feel it. It's pulling me. If we follow, maybe there's safety. Maybe there's nothing. But staying here means death. The girl hesitated, then nodded. Then we follow. By dawn, they moved. The scavenger carried what food he could. The refugees leaned on one another, weak legs trembling. The girl walked close beside him, holding her brother, the teddy bear glowing in her arms. The tunnels twisted and turned, but always the bear's light seemed to point a direction, shining brighter when the path was right, dimming when it was wrong. The scavenger followed step by step, though his heart grew heavy. By nightfall, they reached a vast cavern. Stalactites dripped water from the ceiling. Pools shimmered faintly in the dark. The bear pulsed harder, its light filling the space with golden warmth. The refugees gasped. For a moment they felt hope, but hope did not last. The sound of boots returned, echoing through the cavern mouth. Dozens of soldiers marched in, rifles raised, their flashlights slicing through the dark. The leader's voice thundered, "There! The traitor and his pets. Kill them all. And take the artifact." The scavenger pulled the pipe from his belt, his knuckles white. He knew he couldn't win this fight. Not against so many. His heart raced, fear rising like a tide. The girl's voice broke behind him. Human, the bear is not just memory. It is power. But it demands sacrifice. One life to awaken it fully. He turned sharply. What do you mean? Her eyes filled with tears. It will burn itself out unless someone gives everything. That is how it was made. That is how it must be kept alive. The scavenger's breath caught. He looked at the refugees. At the boy's fragile chest rising and falling. At the girl clutching him, trembling but strong. At the faces of those who had no one else. And he knew. The soldiers closed in, rifles clicking as they prepared to fire. The scavenger whispered to the girl, "Keep your brother safe." "Don't look back," her lips parted in shock. "No, you can't." He stepped forward, clutching the glowing teddy bear in both hands. The light seared into his skin, burning, pulling, demanding. He roared in pain, but he did not let go. The soldiers fired. Bullets struck, but the light swallowed them. The bear blazed brighter than the sun. Symbols burned into the cavern walls, alive with power. The scavenger fell to his knees, every part of him consumed. His voice broke as he shouted, "Go, run!" The girl screamed his name, clutching her brother as the refugees fled into the deeper tunnels. The soldiers stumbled back, blinded by the impossible light. The scavenger's body dissolved into the glow, his last breath carried into the bear. And then in one blinding wave, the cavern exploded with light. The soldiers vanished, erased like shadows in fire. The girl shielded her brother, tears falling as she felt the warmth pass through her. And when the light faded, the scavenger was gone. Only the teddy bear remained. But now its glow was stronger than ever, and in its pulse, she heard his voice. "You're not alone. Keep moving, live." The cavern was silent after the storm of light. Dust drifted from the ceiling and water rippled in the pools where the brightness had burned everything away. The smell of smoke lingered, though no fire remained. The soldiers were gone. Nothing left but their scattered weapons, melted as if touched by the sun itself. In the center of it all lay the teddy bear. It glowed brighter than ever, its stitched chest pulsing with warmth, its button eyes shining with quiet life. But the scavenger was gone. No body, no voice, only the strange silence of his absence. The alien girl stood trembling, her brother in her arms. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she stared at the glowing toy. "He is gone," she whispered. Her brother touched the bear weakly. His small hand trembled, but when his fingers brushed the fur, the light surged. The boy gasped and his voice came out soft but clear. "No, he is not gone. He is here." The girl looked at him, confused. Then she placed the bear gently between them. The warmth spread through her hands, through her chest, and she felt it too. The scavenger's voice, faint, like an echo, whispered from the bear. "You are not alone. Keep moving, live." Her tears fell harder. She pressed her forehead to the toy, her voice breaking. Why did you do it? Why would you give yourself for us? The bear pulsed again, the warmth flowing through her bones. It was not an answer she could put into words. It was a feeling, strength, resolve, a choice made with no regret. The refugees gathered around her, their weak bodies shaking, their eyes fixed on the glowing toy. For the first time, they did not see only sorrow. They saw light. They saw a chance. The girl wiped her tears. She lifted the bear high, its glow spilling across the cavern walls. He saved us. Now we must save each other. We cannot stop here. We must go on. The refugees nodded, their voices weak but steady. Some leaned on broken sticks. Others carried children on their backs. They were tired, but the bear's light filled them with a spark they had not felt in years. Guided by its glow, they began to walk. The tunnels stretched for miles, twisting through the bones of the ruined city. At every turn, the girl expected more soldiers. But the bear pulsed brighter and somehow paths opened, old doors unlocked. Walls seemed weaker where they needed to break through. The toy carried not only souls, it carried instinct, memory, a map of survival. Days passed. The refugees grew stronger as they shared the food the scavenger had left behind. The boy's breathing grew steady. His laughter returned, quiet at first, then louder. The girl smiled for the first time in weeks, though her heart still ached when she thought of the human who had stood between them and death. At night, she held the bear close. In the quiet, she would hear his whisper again. Not clear words, but feelings, warning her when danger was near, urging her to be brave when her knees shook. It was as if he had not left at all, only changed. One evening, after days of walking, they reached the edge of the tunnels. A faint breeze touched their faces, carrying the scent of open air. The girl stepped out first, her brother at her side. Before them stretched a wide valley green with wild grass. The ruins of war still scarred the horizon, but here life had begun to return. Birds flew overhead. A river shimmered in the distance. For the first time, the world did not look like death. The refugees gasped. Some fell to their knees, kissing the ground. Others raised their hands to the sky. The girl held the teddy bear close to her chest, her tears falling again, but this time they were tears of hope. Her brother tugged on her arm. "Sister," he whispered. "Do you think he can see this?" She looked at the glowing bear. Its eyes reflected the sky, bright as stars. She smiled through her tears. "Yes, he is here. He will see everything we see." The boy hugged the bear tightly, whispering, "Thank you, human." The girl turned to the others. "This is not the end. It is only the beginning. We will build again. We will live." The refugees cheered softly, their voices carried by the wind. The teddy bear pulsed brighter, as if agreeing. But far on the horizon, shadows moved. Machines crawled like insects, banners of human armies flying above them. War was not finished. Danger was not gone. The girl saw it and felt no fear. She held the teddy bear high, the light spilling across the valley. The fight was not over, but now they were not alone. And somewhere within the glow, the scavenger's voice whispered one last time. Humanity is not in blood. Humanity is in choice. Protect them. Carry on. The wind swept across the valley. The refugees stepped forward into the new world, their path lit by the glow of a bear that carried 1,000 souls, and one human who had given everything.